Josh, we have officially hit the record button. This is it until March. Contain your excitement while the song plays, and then blast it out as I fade it down. And... I appreciate the gesture there. Where was your explosion of excitement?
In my mouth.
Who put it there?
Whoever brought, well, I guess you did, because you brought the cheese that one weekend. So yeah.
Is that still the same cheese?
Yep.
Jesus. Is that the same summer sausage as well?
No, we went through that bad boy real quick.
By we, you mean Kaya?
Nikita and I.
Oh,
and Kaya had about a third of it.
There you go. All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix podcast. I'm Garlic, one of the co-hosts here, and here's my other co-host, Josh. Say hi to the folks. Josh.
Hi, folks.
There we go. You can email us, hiddenoaksoverdose@gmail.com, or find us on Facebook, facebook.com/hoodpod. You're probably not going to do either of those because this is just a bonus pod, and we're going to do probably the same exact thing again in August, and we won't record again until March. But you know what? I'll still plug them like I should. The segment times will still be in the description below if you'd like to skip around. Not as many segments tonight, but, you know, we'll probably still go for an hour 15 like we usually do. So if you want to skip around, check those segment start times. Levi Oki, you're a beautiful Mexican. You created the beautiful art that all these beautiful people can look at. Even the Latvians and the Australians and the uncultured swines from Chicago can enjoy your beautiful art.
Hey, now take it easy on him.
Bears fan? Jordan?
Yeah, just because they're uncultured and they're from Chicago, probably can't spell Chicago, they had a rough week against Nick Foles. Did you hear that an earthquake struck Chicago?
I did not hear that an earthquake struck Chicago.
Yeah, no, after the game, Nick Foles took his pants off and his dick slapped the ground. And Richter scale of 6.7.
6.7?
Yep.
I thought his dick was bigger than that.
No, he jumped. So
I see. He softened the blow. Anyways, I also wanted to, before we get going here, I wanted to shout out Eriks. He was our lovely commissioner for the year. He put the league together, kept it organized, especially with all us hoodlums in the league. I appreciate you, Eriks. And Eriks was also a very loyal listener. For no good reason, the man would put us on in the bar at closing time, I believe, and just listen to you and I fucking... ramble on about nonsense for a good while.
Well, it's better than that stupid ass song that they play all the time. Closing time?
Oh, you think Eriks would play that every single night when he closes the bar?
I hope not.
God, I would fucking kill myself. I know that much. All right, well, so thank you again.
I think actually he just turned our podcast on, and everybody's like, "Oh God, here we go, bye."
He plays it with people still in the bar.
Oh yeah, and then within 5 seconds they're gone.
Yeah, you know those Latvians, dude. They just get their liquor and they get out.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, so I mean, we were probably gonna do this anyways, but we made sure we wanted to do it because Eriks renamed the league from Blood, Sweat, and Beers. Not a bad name, but he renamed it to what, Josh?
Butt, Sweat, and Beers.
Yeah, fucking ha!
Josh's drunken nicknames come in handy.
The old Butt, Sweat, and Beers League. So we appreciate that. And honestly, BSB, you're probably on the chopping block for our podcast next year. No offense to you. We just tried to cover 3 leagues, and it's probably a little too much for what we're trying to accomplish. So we'll see. Time will tell. But yeah. Anyways, before we get into the BSB League, Josh, our good friend Ryan Walters, he was a guest host with us on... whatever the fuck week that was, like week 10, week 11 in the NFL. He has texted me a hot take about the Kevin Stefanski official hiring at the offensive coordinator position. And so I just want to read that since we don't record for another 2 months after this. And I don't know, there's nowhere else to put it really. So maybe I'll repeat this later if I remember, but I probably won't. Ryan Walters, thank you for inspiring the podcast. Thank you for being beautiful. And thank you for giving me $10. Anyways, this is from Mr. Ryan Walters himself. I think Stefanski got hired to be the OC because I believe the Vikings thought that the only legitimate option was Stefanski. Zimmer has 1 year left on his deal, so that makes it hard to attract big names. And I believe the Vikings got lucky to be able to land a guy who, A, has been around the league, or has been around the NFL, Jesus Christ, has been around an NFL offense since the era of Brad Childress, and B, would immediately have the respect of the players since he has been around the Vikings organization for some time, specifically since 2006. That being said, I am worried because of what we saw from a Vikings offense, especially under Stefanski. Yeah, they may have utilized one of their best players on offense from an athletic standpoint, Dalvin Cook. They utilized him more. But in the last 2 games of the season combined, you have double digits 3-and-outs in the first half. Plus, when the season was on the line, the offense wasn't able to stand up and take what was being offered to them, the playoffs. With everything to play for, I thought our offense looked like garbage. Oh, God, no. Come back text. I thought our offense looked like garbage in the first half of that diseased Detroit game and all of the Bears game. Like, even when we faced the Lions, the season was on the line, and we have 5 3-and-outs in the first half. Gross. I guess what I'm trying to say is that Stefanski was their best option, but I don't believe he was the best option out there that could help us that could help us with their offensive woes. There's some typos in there I had to work through. Josh, do you give a shit about Stefanski or not? I'm guessing no, but
Not really. I mean, Walter says he's going to be bad, so he's probably going to end up being like
coach of the year.
Yeah, Coach Shanahan. I was going to say Mike Shanahan. I don't think that's his name.
Kyle Shanahan?
There we
current
go.
coach of the 49ers?
Yeah, he's going to be like the next him. Kirk Cousins is going to go off for 75 touchdowns next year. And it's just because Walter said he's bad.
You know what, Walters? I accept that. If you have to be wrong for the Vikings to win the Super Bowl, I'm okay with that. Yeah, so like I said, BSB, that wasn't really for you, but Walters gave me a take. I wanted to get the take in, and there it is. Also, sounds like Mike Prefer is out as the Vikings special teams coordinator, so maybe we can actually get our kicking game back in gear, but probably not. Anyways, all right, Latvians, Chicagoans, Australians, and others, I guess. We don't really know if there's others are out there. I'm sure there are. Hard to believe we're only in 4 geographical locations with 12 people, but anyways, we're back into talking stuff you can give a shit about. The BSB League, Butt, Sweat, and Beers.
The best Super Bowl league ever. BSB.
All right, easy there, guy. Anyway, so kind of what our plan for the pod is, we're going to do a quick season recap. After that, we're going to do the full 12-team analysis, kind of like we did the first time, if you guys are here to listen to that. After that, we're going to do a little draft retrospective. Then we're going to talk to the best stuffs. Jono kind of recommended that, like the best waiver pickup, best trade, junk like that. Then we might speculate if we can. I just put that note in there. I don't know if you ever addressed it. And then we'll kind of make some predictions for next year if we can. Anyways, Josh, getting into it, quick season recap. So you want to tell the tale very briefly about how we found out about this league, how we got involved?
So when I was 13 years old,
This should be good.
actually before I was 13 years old, I had what one might call a addictive personality.
You?
Yep. To which I would find something that I enjoyed and I would repeatedly do it. So as you can imagine, puberty, 13 years old, is a rough time in my life for multiple reasons. Fast forward 5 years to when I'm 18. Then fast forward a few more to when I actually started playing fantasy football. We joined a dynasty league about the same time, Coon Rapids Dynasty.
Yep. Same year, some would say.
Same year, yeah. Let's not go over who took first overall draft pick, Eddie Lacy.
Let's not go over who won the very first championship of that league.
Hasn't won a game since. But anyways, fast forward to whatever year that was. And I got the itch. The dynasty itch, you might say. It was about the first year that I actually started taking fantasy serious. And so, of course, we started our own league the year after that. Kaya quit eating the table.
But it tastes so good, Daddy.
And so it was not enough. 2 dynasty leagues was not enough. And so I go on this magical, mystical place called Reddit, also known as where I spend my time at work. And I find out that they have something called Reddit subreddit Find a League. Holy crap.
What?
I scoured for 20 whole minutes. When I sent a message to good old Eriks, got space, bro?
Got space, bruh.
And within 5 minutes, I get an invite to the god-awful platform known as yahoo.com.
Yeah.
That's about how it began.
I wish you would have consulted
Fast
us
forward
before-
10 years from now.
Sorry for interrupting.
Kaya's still an asshole, eating tables and whatnot. Odin's still chewing the ball at my feet. And we have yet to rebuild our god-awful roster that we have right now. But we'll get into that later, folks.
Yeah, so Josh, I appreciate your creative storytelling. To recap, we found out about the league through Reddit, and Josh sent out the request and then asked me if I wanted to join him on this venture. I was like, hell yeah, bruh. So that's what happened. We had the draft, I think, what was it, 1 or 2 teams auto-drafted, and then 2 of the owners dropped out. Brett and Brett, remember them? They're all gone.
They threw a hissy fit.
They did. I think a little understandably, looking at the rosters here, as we have to analyze them, I understand kind of where they are, or where they were. And then Team USA also left us.
That's 0 girly, 0 cups.
Correct.
Yep.
I believe they left us, I assume.
I think they did.
Anywho, so that's what happened. We made a preseason leaderboard. We kind of did this exact same pod before the NFL season got kicked off. And so without getting into too much detail, we can kind of just go through and talk about who we predicted where.
Do we want to do that now? I mean, we can do that kind of at the end, because I know Eriks in the sleeper chat said he wants to do kind of comparison, or maybe it was Mika who said comparison of the 2 leagues, or how we did before and how we're thinking after.
That's fine.
So we could wait on that.
We can talk briefly then about how people finished.
Yeah, we could talk about the league as a whole. So if you want to take us away from the top.
Our lovely commissioner Eriks obviously stacked the deck. He invited everyone to this league just so he could win $50. Kind of an elaborate long con for not big payoff. But you know what, Eriks, if that's what you want to do, good on you, I guess, for what's the word I'm looking for? Executing on that.
Well, in Latvia, $50 can buy you 3 houses.
Probably. The man is living large. Anyways, Eriks won the league. Alex Smith first round, aka an artist formerly known as Chiefs Stop Lose. That man took second. And then nothing really else happened after that. We didn't win. If you ain't first, you're last. So,
Yeah. No. Overall, I mean, when we look at our preseason ranks and everything, for the most part, we were bad. But the professional rankings, or who we called professionals, were worse. So suck it.
The old truthiness wins again, Josh.
I wouldn't go that far.
It's okay, I already did.
You predicted the second place team in our league to get 12th.
I also predicted the first place team in our league to get first. That's right, Eriks. If you remember back to podcast 6, I said you had the best team, and lo and behold, you win the ship. Coincidence? I think not.
Just trying to forget truthiness.
You want that, Josh? You want me to play the clip? Ding.
Please.
2.5 more minutes of your life gone.
No. All right. So how do you want to go about this?
It don't really matter.
I'm looking at our notes right now, and I mean, let's just go through each team, and then we can go back to what we had them in before, and then we could talk about where they ended up.
Sure. Start my check my balls, Josh. I've talked a lot, like I do to start the pod. Get us going with Eriks there.
Yeah, I mean, I wish we could go through actually I don't, because that would take up a whole lot of time we don't have. We'd need a television station to do that. But all the transactions made throughout the season, all of that stuff. So we won't even talk about, I have no notes on their transactions throughout the season, but we can kind of make inferences based on what they have as far as picks go, if they've made trades. And right now, Eriks has 4 picks. And so I'm guessing he made a trade.
He traded his third away.
And so going through the scoring system here, as you may recall, a brief overview of my scoring system. It's on a no points through 3-point scale.
Hold on. Fix your throat. You did this exact same thing last time, and I also re-listened to the pod today, and you sound ridiculous. Burp or throw up or whatever you got to do. You sound bad.
I had a really heavy beer at the brewery. I bought a growler, and now I'm drinking alcohol. So you know what I'm doing right now, Gar? I'm trying to recreate New Year's Eve.
Perfect. That ended well for you, so let's do it again.
I lost 15 pounds.
Oh, I should start that diet.
Right? So 0 through 3 scale, 3 all-world perennial talent, going to be a key staple in your lineup. 2s, not going anywhere for cheap, has the potential to be breakout stars. 1s, contributors, worthwhile players, going to be, should be in your starting lineup, that sort of thing. But if you part ways with them, not the end of the world. And then 0s, flyers, not necessarily flyers, but late round flyers. Screw you, Josh. So I'm just looking at your team again.
Again, this is Eriks. Check my balls.
Check my balls. I mean, you finished 10-3, so obvious, and you got first, so you have a better team. Going through, I mean, with my scale, I gave you a 19 this time around. I liked Matt Ryan. I gave Dalvin Cook a 2, and I think I was down on him in the beginning of the year, just because he did show some explosiveness, but he is injury prone, so he could be on that 1 range for me. James Conner, you wanted me to, I'm not going to get on my knees while I talk about him, but I gave him a 2. I feel he's, a pretty solid player. And so, yes, James Conner. Is that enough mentioning him for you?
Not for him. He wants a lot.
Okay, so James Conner. I really like Kerryon Johnson as well. Jay Ajayi, I gave a 1 just because, he was starter and then he went on the IR, so who knows what happens with him. Trey Burton, a 1, even though he performed like a -1 throughout the year. Antonio Brown is only a 2. I graded him at 3 preseason, I believe, but that's just because of everything that came out about how he's being a diva. Julio's a 3, Jarvis 1, Thielen 1, Stills 1, Geronimo 1. Baldwin 1. So you finished with 19 on my scale. And so, overall, you're the champion in the league, so you don't have to listen to a single word I say. You're smarter than me.
Yeah. So, Josh, you have an okay scoring system. Not bad for a white guy, but you don't predict winners, okay? I predict winners, and I do that through the old-fashioned, patented Stephen Colbert truthiness scale, all right? I don't go around with the 3-point system.
Well, Lottie frickin' da!
Lottie frickin' da, indeed. I don't go around with this fancy-dancy 3-point scoring system, mainly because I can't count to 3, all right? 2 is as high as I can go, so I stick with 2. How my system works is 1 point. Again, truthiness means it's all based on my gut. So I look at the name, I like it, or I don't, or I medium it. No one in this league is a 0. It's either you interest me or you don't. I think you're going to be good or you're not. Or I don't think much of you. A 0 can be neutral. It's not like I'm giving 0s. You earn points. You go up or you stay neutral.
Who's Crick Cousins?
Josh, no one really knows for sure. Anyways, after explaining my truthiness scale, I gave your team overall 13, which isn't terrible in my scoring system. I gave 1 point to Dalvin. I gave a point to Jalen Samuels just because you don't know what's going on with that Pittsburgh team. I need to lose this accent. That was annoying.
You do.
Dwayne Washington, I also gave a point to. James Conner. I gave that man a 2 points.
Who?
How dare you?
No. What's his name again?
James Conner.
One more time for the listeners.
James Conner.
All right, thank you.
I gave that beautiful man a 2, and I gave Julio Jones a 2. I think they're both very deserving. I still like AB, but there's a lot of drama surrounding him right now. I like Jarvis Landry. Adam Thielen was super hot to start the season. Definitely gave you a hot start. Dude kind of fell off the cliff at the end of the season, though. So overall, I think the season deserves a 1. Although the first half would be a 2. Second half would probably just be a 0. But that's how things work out. I also like Kerryon. And Matt Ryan and Kirk Cousins aren't bad quarterbacks. They're probably, every week starts for you. But, they're definitely not top tier. They're just, you'll get 15 points probably. So I gave you a 13. And I don't think we're talking about where that ranks on our list just yet.
Not quite. Yep.
I think that was first or tied for one of the high places. Anyways.
Sure. Who cares?
Yeah.
Notes. Yeah, I agree. Plenty of potential. Youth. The youth movement's there. James Conner, Kerryon, Dalvin Cook. Teddy B. Who knows what happens with him? One of those sneaky good teams. Yeah. No, you look at his team, you don't see a whole lot of wow names other than AB and Julio. But for sure,
Yeah. The only other note I had was James Conner, Adam Thielen, Julio Jones, and Antonio Brown definitely carried your team, and I'm sure you're very appreciative. But that's just a note I jotted down as a fact. So I think that's all we got for Eriks.
Yeah.
That was first place. Now we're going into for the rest of it. We're going to go in reverse order from last place. So we'll go 12th, 11th, 10th, and that's just kind of how we'll order it. So if you're curious on where you are if you want to listen to just your team, it's going to go that way. Anyways, we got Weasel85. At least that's your username on Sleeper, also known as Zero Girly Zero Cup. Your team's bad. All right. I gave 1 point to Tom Brady.
All right, that's enough review for that team.
That's really all they deserve with their shame of a name. I gave 1 point to Tom Brady. I gave half a point to Drew Brees. Now, I don't represent half points in my systems lightly, but if the man wins the Super Bowl this year, he could very realistically retire, having 2 Super Bowls under his belt. So that's why I was like, if Drew Brees is on your team next year, definitely worth the point. If not, the same applies to Larry Fitzgerald. A lot of bubble retirement guys on your team. AJ Green, I gave a point. Jared Cook, I gave a point. That was it. You got a total of 4 points, but 2 of them were half points. So you really only got 3 points, and I don't even have to look at the scale to know you ranked last on my list. I'm not sure. She is definitely biting the table. Yes. I do not think you distracted your dog well enough to stop eating the table.
Okay.
Anyways, I went through my list. It was very short. They got 3 points. Your team's garbage.
I gave Tom Brady 1 point, Drew Brees 1 point. Don't like either of them because they're old, but Drew Brees I feel like is going to play even if they don't win the Super Bowl or if they win the Super Bowl.
Dick.
I gave Burkhead and Ware a point just because Burkhead did get some touches after he came off IR. Ware, who knows what's going to happen with that backfield with Damian Williams re-signing and Kareem Hunt being gone. John Brown I gave a point because he was a pretty good threat in Baltimore. I gave 2 to A.J. Green. I had him at 1, but I felt bad for only giving you 7 points on my scale, so I upped it to 2. But he has injury concerns. Jared Cook I gave a 1. And I mean, it's nothing against you. We're not saying you're a bad fantasy player because you joined. Yeah, you joined after the league ended, I believe.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
You have some good picks coming up. I don't know of any of the talent in this draft, but you have the 1st, the 7th, and 13th overall, and then from there, the first pick in each round. I gave you an 8 on my scale total. It is the worst. You're in trouble. Make some trades. Get some pity. I don't know if you can cry and make an audio file of it and then send it to the group. Maybe someone will feel bad for you. But yeah, I mean, if I were to be asked to take over this team, I probably would have laughed and asked somebody to pay me to do it. So props to you for doing that. For all we know, you could be a savant and you're going to draft just the greatest players with all your picks. And honestly, if you did, that'd be awesome.
Oh, I would love to be proven wrong about this team, but I don't think I will be. It is nice having 2 top 10 picks and then 3 in the top 15, but I don't know.
When half the team's going to retire next week, it's not pretty.
At a boogie. Yeah, so I think that's all we got for the Sham Zero Girly Zero Cup.
Victorious Secret.
A new addition to the league as well. They took over the old Brett and Brett, I'm pretty sure.
Funny. The 2 worst teams ended up leaving in a weird $10 free league that was signed on Reddit. I never would have saw that coming.
Ew.
I actually graded this team fairly well considering their finish. And then I just noticed they have 3 picks in the top 15, 2 in the top 5. Mm-hmm. Sam Darnold, he looked promising for a young guy. You only have 1 quarterback, though, so that is concerning. Jalen Richard, 2 of the running backs are getting checked into the nursing home after the offseason. So Jalen Richard is going to be someone who might actually perform well. Chris McCaffrey, bell cow, just absolute stud this year. Ito Smith, I gave a 1 just because Tevin Coleman's likely going to go elsewhere. Gus Edwards stepped up. Deion Lewis, Mark Ingram. DeAndre Hopkins, I feel, is the best wide receiver in the NFL right now, and I've been saying that I want your Taco John's really bad right now, garlic. And I've been saying that about Devontae Adams for a while, but DeAndre Hopkins is up there. Mike Williams, I like. He's young. He's talented. So, I gave your team a 22 overall, which I believe is good enough for tied for first in my rankings, but we'll get into that. And so I think that you're one of those sneaky good teams as well. It's just if Sam Darnold goes down, you're going to be scrambling for a quarterback on the waiver wire. And I don't think Taysom Hill is going to get you much points because I believe he's available.
Yeah. So I agree. The Sam Darnold, I gave him a point. He didn't look bad. You got Adam Gase as your coach, so who knows if he'll be able to, do his little QB whispering job or not. CMC, absolute stud. Must start every single week. Gus Edwards, I liked a lot. I like his potential a lot, I should say. Obviously, he helped you out the last 5-6 weeks. Not that it mattered because you went 1-12, but he's got a bright future, I'd like to think. DeAndre Hopkins, again, I agree with Josh, stud. Roby Anderson, I gave a point to. Mike Williams, stud. James Washington, Antonio Callaway, and Evan Ingram also got a point for me. You only got 12 points on my scale, but again, keep in mind, I'm not as liberal like Josh is with his points, so I gave you a 12, and we'll just talk about all the ranks at the end, but 12 is a pretty good score on my list. So notes, you got a few studs, like I said. You got CMC and Mike Williams and DeAndre Hopkins, so those are going to be must starts every week. Plenty of wide safety, by the way. Plenty of wide receiver potential, so that'll be good for you. And then only one QB, though. Josh mentioned this at the very top of your team. Definitely going to need some depth there. I understand why Brett and Brett will want to leave with only one QB in the Sam Darnold. I guess I don't know what the situation was when they left, but if this was their situation, I'm a little more understanding now than I was probably before, but I don't know. They should have been more responsible and got more QBs on their team, I guess. Anywho. Well,
and then also just another quick thing on this. I believe this guy came in and made 3 trades, right as he joined. So he made some moves that it looks like set his team up for some decent outcomes next year. I mean, he's got a young team, it looks like. So
yeah, he's got some decent players and 2 picks in the top 4. So pick 2 and pick 4. So plenty of the future's yours. You could nail it or you could fuck it up real bad. So I guess we'll see how you do, Mr. Victoria's Secret or Mrs. I guess I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to assume genders, but
did you just assume my gender?
Let's just say I could tell a little tale about someone who happened to go worst to first in another Dynasty League. It's definitely not impossible, okay? Let's just say I did it. Anywho, moving on. Team Morts, a.k.a. Erect Dicker. Like I said, way back when, Russell Wilson, stud, absolute must start every week. I gave him 2. Jerick McKinnon, I'll give 1 for the potential coming back. Mike Davis, I gave 1. The Juice, I gave 1. The new Juice Jr., if you will. I gave Sony Michel 1 and Rashad Penny 1. I think that is an amazing class of running backs you have there, so I'm excited for your potential in that position. Moving on to receivers, I gave Keenan Allen a 2. Guy's a target whore. Sometimes he can have some questionable health, but I think the last 2 seasons he's played fully, so I don't remember last season, I'll be honest, but I know he played fully this season, maybe banged up 1 game or 2, but other than that, OBJ I gave 1.2 just because the guy's got a lot of talent. But there's I like Pat Shurmur as your play caller, but a lot of question marks there with Eli, who's going to be the quarterback.
Mouth breather.
2-time Super Bowl champion Eli Manning. You show some goddamn respect.
Yeah, you cover his mouth, he dies.
Oh well, don't cover his mouth. And then DJ Moore, I like the potential. As long as Cam can come back healthy, he needs a target whore like he used to have in Greg Olsen or Kelvin Benjamin. So we don't know. I gave you 11 points on my scale.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of what Garth said. I also gave Chris Thompson and Isaiah Crowell points. I mean, Isaiah Crowell had an okay season. I mean, he had a couple big games, couple bad games. I mean, that's kind of the case. I really like Sony Michel. He already mentioned your young running backs. I think Sony Michel is that kind of the best of the 3. But Darius Geis, we didn't get to see him in action, and Rashad Penny was very limited.
Josh, that's Darius Juice.
Yeah, Darius Geis, we didn't get to see him in action because of his ACL, so who knows how he comes back from that. Rashad Penny was limited by touches because Pete Carroll was too busy chewing gum. I like Keenan Allen. I don't think he missed a game this year or last year. Odell, like Gar said, he has Eli. DJ Moore. I gave Jack Doyle a point because Doyle rules. And so on my scale, you got 18. Some notes. You have incredible running back future.
You kind of skipped over the fact that you gave Derek Carr a point, and you ripped Derek Carr and the Raiders constantly, so I'd just like you to, for a moment, justify why you gave Derek Carr a point. Thank you.
Because any man that needs to wear eyeliner to feel better about themselves deserves some sort of gratification.
Thank you. You can move back onto the notes.
All right. The notes, you have a credible running back future if it works out for you. Obviously, coming back from ACL tear, worrying about which of the 12 running backs in Seattle is going to get the ball, as well as if their paper mache line can block. They led the league in running, so I shouldn't be concerned about that, or you shouldn't be concerned about that. Your tight ends, abysmal for the most part, but Jack Doyle was hurt most of the year, so who knows what happens. Charles Clay, Max Williams, I don't even know if they're kind of considered. I know Charles Clay is a starter, but he's in Buffalo, so gross. And Max Williams is kind of a hit and miss. He's married, or his sister is married to one of my high school friends, so I can get you the inside scoop on him for a price.
He blows.
There we go.
And yeah, Jack Doyle, if he still plays for the Colts, I don't even know what team he plays for. If he still plays for the Colts, he's never seen the field again. Eric Ebron tore up the field this year.
Yeah, but he came back from injury and still scored after that.
Just saying. But so yeah, not a bad team. Plenty of running back potential, abysmal tight ends. Moving on.
Jonos Burtons.
Yeah, we don't know if it's Jonos or Jonos. I like to go with Jonos, but you could say Jonos. Josh, take it away.
All right, 9th place, 5-8. I gave two of your quarterbacks a point, Jameis Winston and Carson Wentz, just because, I think beginning of the year I gave Carson a 2 or a 3. Lowered him quite a bit just because of injury concern. He had a rough start coming back from injury. I gave Jameis a 1 just because that offense led the league in yards, I believe. And so somebody has to be throwing the ball, and you have Ryan Fitzpatrick as well, but I wasn't going to give them both a point. So if I'm going to be honest, it's half point each. Running back wise, Devonta Freeman, I gave a 1, just because there is injury concern. But there's also Tevin Coleman leaving, so that opens the door for him later on for more touches. So who knows? Melvin Gordon got a 3 because he is a stud. He was kind of that workhorse. They fed him all year. Matt Breida got a 1, injury concerns, but he played through every injury he had. Naheem Hines got a 1. T.Y. Hilton 2. Brandon Cooks 2. And then there's a few 1s spattered in. O.J. Howard, C.J. Uzomah, both of them are going to be tight ends of their team for the future. And then I like Kiki Cutie and Traquan Smith as your rookie wideouts. Overall, you got an 18 on my scale.
Not bad. So I understand why you might want to give Jameis a point. Bruce Arians did come out, whether it's bullshit or not, Bruce Arians did come out and say he thinks he could build a team around Jameis, and he sounded like, Bruce Arians sounded like Jameis was the quarterback he wanted. So who knows? I still hate the fucking guy.
Oh, yeah, don't get me wrong. I hate him. I don't think he's good. He eats W's like a freaking moron.
But from a fantasy perspective, I see what you're saying. I disagree, but I see what you're saying. Melvin Gordon, I don't know why I just gave him a 1. There's no reason I should have gave him a 1. I'm going to go give him a 2 right now. Here we go.
Or not.
I have not farted. So Melvin Gordon, absolute stud, must start. Naeem Hines, not bad. He did a good job filling in when Marlon Mack was banged up. T.Y. Hilton was questionable to start. Now is a stud. Now that looks back and feed him the ball, T.Y. Hilton, stud. Dante Moncrief, Brandon Cooks, Dontrell Inman, and Kiki Kuti. Those guys are not bona fide studs. They're either on teams where the quarterback blows, or they're on teams where the quarterback is spreading the wealth quite a bit, so they're not going to be that every target receiver, kind of like a Keenan Allen might be, but that's how it goes. I didn't note anyone else on your team, so I gave you a 9 on my scale. Definitely not I'd say it's below average according to my scale. But yeah, you have Melvin Gordon, who's great, and then plenty of wide receiver potential. So maybe if you can trade one or two of those guys away, you're probably poised to not do too bad for yourself. Not going back, but also talking about your draft picks, Jonos definitely seems like he was the most active guy trading wise. He has the 9th pick, the 11th pick, the 16th, the 18th, the 28th, the 31st, and the 36th. So that's 7 picks. They're all within the top 40. He doesn't have a top 8 pick, so I mean, obviously he won't get a bona fide stud, but the guy traded away his low draft picks, kept dry hat.
2 years ago, I got Alvin Kamara with pick 10, so
just saying. Anyways, Alvin Kamara was also an unknown rookie to most of us, so.
Whoa!
You took him at 10. You took Corey Davis at 2 or 3.
4.
Whatever, nerd. But no, so I think you have an excellent draft position. You'll likely probably trade a pick or two to either move up further or just to, I don't know, acquire another player, because I definitely think you could use a tight end or a quarterback, but I think you have great draft capital, and just wanted to compliment that.
So on air message to John Osburton's, how about Kareem Hunt and Josh Gordon for 9, 11, and 16?
I think he just said yes. Eriks, put it through.
All right.
Do we go through the notes? Oh, I said Rocky QB situation. We talked about that. Not bad. No real stud running back. That's why I had Melvin at 1. So I think Melvin Gordon's real close. He definitely can be that bell cow type guy, but he had a lot of injuries this year, just kind of banged up. So if he can stay healthy, dude's an absolute stud. And I already talked about your wide receivers. God, Odin, stop it. Moving on. Your username on Sleeper is Bolin Gary.
Nobody misses the 5-pin.
But yeah, that's a little inside joke for Josh and I. But your team was Cockknocker, so you went 8th. You went 5-8 for 8th place. Not terrible. Looking at your lineup here, I got to scroll up. So Deshaun Watson, love that guy. Gave him a 2. Ezekiel Elliott, love that guy. Gave him a 2. Tyreek Cohen, he is definitely the Tyreek Hill of Chicago. Love that guy. Gave him a 2. I'm also interested in Rojo's potential. I know in a Bruce Arians offense, I think the running backs will get more involved. So it sounds like Rojo is his own worst enemy with some stone hands. We'll see. Future's untold. Philip Lindsay, definitely a stud. I'd say he's definitely a startable RB2 every week, although you probably don't need to because you already have some great RBs. But if not, Philip Lindsay's great. You could probably trade him for some good value. Mike Evans is not bad. Uncertain future, though. Amari Cooper, rough start to the season, but as soon as he hit Dallas, that dude was balling out hard. So Amari Cooper's worth a 2 on my scale. Cooper Kupp, I gave a 1 just because he balled before injury, and Zay Jones was getting hella targets to end the season from Josh Allen, so I think there's plenty of potential there. Overall, you got a 13 on my scale. Not bad.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Garlic said on your studs there. I gave Zeke a 3 on my scale. I was a little bit lower on Deshaun Watson on mine, just because he had some iffy games. It seems that he's always scrambling, running for his life, so who knows. And then he came out of the gate a little bit slow. Tariq Cohen, I agree, he's a stud. I was high on him midway, not in the beginning of the season necessarily. I did think he'd do fine, but not as high as I was now. Philip Lindsay came out of nowhere, and he's a stud. He's got a lot to prove as an undrafted free agent pickup in Denver. Mike Evans, I gave it 2. I hate Mike Evans, not because he's a bad person or because he's a bad player, but it's just because you always just kind of stress. He's got the most consecutive, he's got 1,000-yard seasons. He scores touchdowns, it seems, but he's just always one of those players you're like, I'm nervous to play you. And it's more so because of Jameis than anything. I agree with what Garlic said about Cooper. I gave Devontae Parker a 1 just because I'm afraid to not give him a 1 because he's one of those players that they always talk up. Cooper Kupp balled out. Zay Jones, David Moore, and Dante Pettis all got points as well. Ricky Seals-Jones, I think he's being a young wideout. I think tight end. I think he's going to actually do work once Arizona gets their head out of their ass and benches Josh Rosen.
Yeah, I think so. Moving on to the notes, we talked about it a bunch, but I think you have good positional studs. You got at least one good quarterback. You have 2 good running backs. You have two if not 3 good receivers. 3 good running backs, 2 good receivers with some potential there behind them. So I think your team's pretty well-rounded. Of course, it looks like you drafted heavily on those other positions. So, like most of the league, your tight ends are a little more questionable. Delaney Walker, Ricky Seals-Jones, Chris Hendon, whatever. And then Zach Miller, who is probably never going to play football again. Is the same Zach Miller I'm thinking of? Or? Yeah, no.
If he played football again, it's going to be flag football with his kids.
That still might be a little risky that injury was gruesome.
Yeah, no, that was, he almost lost his leg.
Yeah. So, not a bad team.
He's a bear. He probably would have been better off without one. Who cares if you made the playoffs?
Nerds! Yeah, all right. We are adults, let the record show.
I have a 401k.
Me too. It's realistically like 1K right now, but hopefully someday it's at 401K. Anyways, I started the last one, Josh. It's your 10.
But I almost swore. Footbuckers.
Butt fuckers.
Easily the smallest roster. So that may skew your scores, but you also
Easily the
traded.
smallest.
You have Baker, who I love to watch. I think he's awesome. Even if you're not, I mean, I don't even care if you're Steelers or Bengals fan like our league is. The Browns are going to be fun to watch with Baker Mayfield at quarterback. Alvin Kamara, I gave a 3. Elijah McGuire, I don't know why I have a 2. I just think that the Jets' backfield is kind of iffy, so he's going to be good if he's around. Juju has a 2. He could be a 3 if AB leaves. Eric Ebron's a 2. Njoku's a 1. Diggs, Lockett, Wilson, Deshaun, Marquise, Mohammed. You've got a lot of names that are familiar. And you get points for it. I gave Malcolm Brown a 1, as well as Jamal Williams. Kai, I'm going to kick your dick off. But on my scale, you got a 20. And I don't know if I mentioned in the last one, Bowling Gary Cockknocker, you got a 20 for me as well. Futbuckers, you got a 20 on my scale, even though you have less players to grade. So 50. Take it away, Gar.
All right. Futbuckers. I also like Baker Mayfield a lot. It's honestly scary to think about the fact that Tyrod Taylor started how many games for that team this year? I don't know.
Way too many.
But yeah. So I appreciate what Hugh was trying to do, but Hugh's gone now. So yikes. I like AD. I think he surprised a lot of people this year, kind of showing what he's got in the tank. I think that team's future is uncertain, but as long as AD's in the league, I'll always give that guy a point just because you never really know. That guy has proven the haters wrong before. Alvin Kamara, obvious stud, but that's only worth 2 on my scale. Elijah McGuire, I like him as well. I think he has the future to be the lead back in the Jets, but who knows what's going to go on with that team. Marquise Goodwin, like him as well. Deshaun Jackson, both speed guys. Potentials in their offenses if their teams can get their heads out of their arses. I also really love Tyler Lockett and Stephon Diggs. I think they had good seasons, kind of quietly good seasons. Juju Smith-Schuster and Eric Ebron, both absolute studs as well. So you're missing, I see you have 4 open slots in your, or no, probably just 2 open slots because I think a lot of us are utilizing the IR right now. But so you got room there to add some more players. You got a 14 overall on my scale. The notes here, I think I don't know if this is true because I wrote this, you were like the 15 we analyzed, but I think you had the most studs as far as my scale goes on a team. So plenty of potential there to either just start and win every week or maybe trade a guy for the future. It looks like you traded away a draft pick or 2, so you have a pick at 6 and then not another pick until 30. So hopefully you can land a decent player at 6. I wrote this team could have a great 2019. So I don't know if 14 was the highest on my list or not, but it's pretty high looking at just kind of all the teams that are around it. So we'll see how you do, buddy. I suppose I lead the next one, don't I?
Yeah.
Yikes. Dalton Abbey, Micah, however the fuck you would say that name. Aaron Rodgers, you're worth a point, although I do think your best days are behind you. Le'Veon Bell, you're worth a point based on potential, along with David Johnson, Kenneth Dixon, Kenyon Drake.
Did you spell these names wrong just to piss me off?
What name did I spell wrong?
Kenneth? Kennith?
Oh, whatever. Fuck. Okay, that's one name. You
Devontae?
Did I spell that wrong as well? Where is that even? Where's Devontae?
In the whiteouts.
Oh, whatever. If you wanted to do it, Josh, you could have done it yourself.
Nah, I'm happy you did it.
Yeah, go tuck yourself in. Anyways, plenty of potential in that running back core, although I don't think you have any must starts every week. Obviously, my
Nick
tone.
Chubb?
I don't think you have any absolute must starts every week. Next season will kind of tell the tale. Kai's definitely doing something to the chair behind me. I'm not sure what, but
Hey, Kai.
lots of talent in your running back core as well. Devontae Adams is a stud. Julian Edelman, he gets a lot of work from the Tom Brady sir. Michael Gallup and Cortland Sutton are both either rookies or second-year guys that are trying to get fed by their teams this year. So I think their stock is only rising at this point. I do not foresee a sophomore slump. You only got a 13 on my scale, but Josh is currently dicking around. So Looking at the notes, great running back class, like I said. 2 good wide receivers to carry you until the other stashes or your other younger guys can develop. And you have no tight end in sight. You currently have Anthony Fisker, which I had no idea who that was. You also have Hayden Hurst and Greg Olson, who I think retired. So take it away, Josh.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, I gave it 2. Garlic thinks his best days are behind him, but let's hope this coaching change improves his on his last season. He's still accurate. Didn't have any wideouts to get separation. Had a lot of rookies to throw to, so it was kind of sketchy. David Johnson, I gave it 2. I hope that they can give him a resurgence. Because he struggled last year. Your other running backs, I gave them all 1s. You have a great... I think Nick Chubb is a stud, somebody that you'd want to start every week. Devonta Adams, I am super high on him. I think he's a top 3 wideout every year from here on out. Are you laughing at me or Odin?
You. I mean, I appreciate you liking the guy. You definitely have a little bit of homeritis. I'm not saying Devonta Adams isn't quite talented, but... I mean, that team's going through a coaching change. You don't know how Rodgers is going to feel next year.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, he was number 1 this year in fantasy.
Was he?
Yeah.
In a PPR and a regular league?
Both. Actually, in just PPR. I don't know. In regular league, I mean, his floor, he didn't score less than 16 points in PPR. He was the only one. That was the highest floor of any wideout. So I really like him. I think he's going to be, one of those consistent guys every week. Your other wideouts, I like them all. You got some youth: Michael Gallup, Christian Kirk, Cortland Sutton, and then tight ends, Hayden Hurst. I gave a 1. Didn't get to see what he could do this year, but he's one of those receiving tight ends. So it'll be interesting to see how he does, especially since they had the quarterback change, and I don't know. Lamar Jackson doesn't know how to throw the ball. He's like me in Madden, and so. I give you a 22 on my scale.
Here's the Ravens receivers.
Throw me a frickin' bone here. I'm the boss. Need the info.
Dude, did they throw me a bone?
Pretty much. They throw footballs though, Garlic. Jordan 14, just Bears fan. 5th place.
Playoff team, not bad.
And so Andrew Luck, he came out of the gates. I mean, I was down on him because he played with Nerf balls in the preseason. He got a 2 this time around. Saquon Barkley got a 3 this time around. He was just absolute stud. Robinson and Fuller and Boyd got 2s on my scale. All 3 of those guys ungraded in Garlic's scale, but 2s on mine, which is kind of different. But Tyler Boyd was stellar. Fuller's a touchdown machine, and Robinson, he had some issues with injuries, but it was also his first year with the team. So hopefully when he's healthy and back with the team, it'll be a good to go. I liked Ian Thomas as a replacement for Greg Olson. So I think you're well-rounded. I gave you a 22 on my scale.
Nice. Yep, Andrew Luck, stud. Mitchell Trubisky, flashes of greatness. Not a team, though, I think that'll be built around the offense quite like people might think. Damian Williams definitely seems like he's going to be the future in KC. At least that's the early indication, so that's why I gave Damian Williams a 2. Derrick Henry and Jordan Howard, definitely potential there, but question marks, no doubt. Saquon Barkley, absolute stud, worth a 2. Going all the way down to Calvin Ridley and Anthony Miller. Your other wide receivers, it just didn't excite me that much. To Josh's point of Allen Robinson and Will Fuller and Tyler Boyd. I don't know. I don't feel like I heard a lot about them this year.
You must have taken too much Tums before doing this team. Your truthiness, your gut feeling is just off.
Josh, you said that last time, but I pick winners. And more importantly, I know who won't win. This guy got a 13. That means he is not going to win. Anywho, I do like Calvin Ridley and Anthony Miller for youth and potential. I like Demaryius Thomas in that new Texans offense of his, or for him. And then Ian Thomas again with Josh. Cam Newton historically loves to dump off to Greg Olson. So if Ian Thomas can get at least like 50 to 75% of that action, plenty of fantasy potential there. Looking at the notes, couple stud running backs, then not much, in my opinion. Shaky wide receiver core at best, in my opinion. And I love Andrew Luck. Oh, yikes, I do the next one again. Josh, you got to hit me with one of these. Yeah. Anyways, we're already up to 4th. Edgar's, a.k.a. TD My Pants, a.k.a. the team we fucking crushed in the 3rd place game. Nerd.
Best in the world.
Woo-hoo.
We did it! We did it! Yes!
Yeah, okay, well, the Vikings are terrible.
Why? Why you gotta do that to me? We're over here celebrating, taking third place, then you just gotta
He has a Viking on his team.
you gotta cut me down to my prime. Anywho, Jimmy G, I'll give a 0.2 for potential. I liked the Italian Stallions potential. I wanted to see him this year. Again, your dog is eating your metal workout chair, so that's got to be great for the old chompers.
Sharpening them chomps up.
Jesus. So Jimmy, the Italian Stallion, I'd like to see what he can do with a full healthy year. Lamar Jackson, obviously the dude was balling out via the ground game. Josh Allen, get the fuck out of here. Josh Allen, I personally like, not necessarily in a statistics perspective. I could not talk this evening. I apologize. But I like Josh Allen just on a personal basis. He might be my replacement for the boat if Blake Bortles is out of the league at the end of this year. Cam Newton, obvious must-start stud. So you have a great quarterbacks core. 5 of them, though. 4 of them starters, so I can see why people might be bitching that there's too many quarterbacks on some of these teams. Anyway, James White I like. The guy got a lot of action this year. Todd Gurley, obvious generational stud. Alshon Jeffrey, I personally like quite a bit. Tyreek Hill, the dude's, as long as Andy Reid's there and in that system with Patty Mahomes, dude's a must start every week. And then Kenny Galladay seems to be the current future of the Detroit Lions receiving core. So you got a 13 on my scale. It seems like a lot of teams got 13, so maybe I got lazy or maybe just miraculously worked out that way. But a lot of potential QB, but you should probably trade or drop some of those guys to be fair to other people. And I think you had the fewest running backs, only like 4 or 5 of them. So maybe you don't need depth. Otherwise, you should definitely look into correcting that because that could be a bugaboo in the future. But you went 12-1 this year, so what do I know?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what a lot of what Garlic said. A lot of QB depth, a lot of good QBs, young QBs, good potential there. Todd Gurley, out of this world. I'll say it again. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL to watch of all time. Yes, of all time nowadays.
Marry him, Josh.
Alshon Jeffrey. I like Quincy Nunwa, whenever he's healthy, but he does have that injury concern. Sterling Shepard, I think, is he's good, but Odell has to be there, and then obviously relies on Eli. Tyreek Hill, out of this world talent. Love him. I gave Chester Rogers a point because he stepped his game up quite a bit when T.Y. was down, so he's one of those guys that you could plug in from time to time if you need to. Then I like Kenny Galladay in Detroit as well, and then Austin Hooper got a point because he is one of those guys who's like 4 catches, 30 yards every week, and then a touchdown, it seems, when needed. So you got an 18 on my scale. A lot of potential at QB, lack of running back depth, though.
Yeah, and your draft position is not great. We've kind of been skipping over the draft position on some of these people. So going back to Dalton Abbey for just a second, dude's first pick is not until 19, so that's questionable. But even worse, though, is Edgar's. His first pick is not until 21. He's got 21, 33, 45, and 57. So it looks like he traded away his first rounder, and that's it. So your team's probably not going to improve that much through the draft unless you get really lucky. So you got to trade or just pray.
Yep. Moving on to the soon-to-be last-place team in the league, Hidden Oaks. That's us.
You know what, Josh? We'll take a respectable second to last, all right? Give us a little credit,
Okay,
please.
we'll take second to last.
Thank you.
Patrick Mahomes, he stepped his game up. I think we got the steal of the draft, one of the steals of the draft, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Lamar Miller, he, like I said preseason, I'm going to say it again for those of you who didn't listen preseason. If you need 8 points, Lamar Miller is going to get you 8. If you need 20 points, Lamar Miller is going to get you 8. So that's Lamar Miller. Consistency is key. Aaron Jones, I gave a 2. I'm high on him. If you've listened to the podcast throughout the year, you already knew that. Michael Thomas got a 3. He had a great season. He's just a absolute target whore. Josh Adams was one of those pickups we had, and he balled out for Philly. Who knows what happens with the future, though. Nelson Aguilar, he was kind of hit and miss throughout the year, but I think that once they get a little bit more consistency in their offense, figure out some things, he might be a player to keep an eye on. Jake Camaro, touchdown Jesus in Green Bay. He might be one of those guys to keep an eye on because him and Rodgers seem to be on the same level in some way.
It's because they're white.
Well, didn't want to bring race into it, but if you say so. Tim Patrick, I gave a 1 because he gave me a champion in another league. And then DJ Chark, I gave a 1 because God knows what's going to happen with that wide receiver core in Jacksonville. Zach Ertz, Hunter Henry, and Dallas Goedert, our 3 tight ends, all got points. Zach Ertz with a 3, Hunter Henry with a 1, Dallas Goedert with a 1. We finished with 20 overall points, but I hate our team.
Yeah, I would say you graded our team decently high on your scale for a team you hate. As far as our team goes, I do like Phillip Rivers. I always will. Patty Mahomes, I agree with you. One of the steals of the draft, unintentional. Obviously, the guy was coming in as a first-year starter for him, or his first year as the starter. So kind of an unknown entity, but we got lucky as hell. Lamar Miller, I give a point to just because Josh said he can he's a consistent player, so you'll put him in when you just know you need like 8 points at your RB2 or maybe a flex spot. He's not going to be a guy you put in and hope he gets you 40. That's not the case with Lamar. So he's only worth 1. Josh, I am shocked you did not give a 3 to Aaron Jones as high as you are on him. I only gave Aaron Jones a 1 just because I don't know. The guy had fresh legs all year. This is kind of something I've talked to Josh about on and off throughout the season, but Aaron Jones was, I don't know, what was his most touches in the game? 15 maybe? Maybe one game with more, but
yeah, he's a guy that he's not going to get 25 carries a game. He's not going to be that the bell cow of the team. He's a smaller bodied guy, but he's very elusive. I mean, I don't know if he finished the league as leading in yards per carry, yards per touch, but he makes people miss. And so if he got more than 15 touches a game or more than 12 carries a game, I'd be worried about his longevity. So, I mean, he did great with the touches he got when he was healthy. So it's just, they got rid of Mike McCarthy, so we got to get him carries actually.
Right, yeah, that's the only reason I gave him 1 is I think I agree with Josh. He was incredibly efficient when he had the ball and he was moving it. But for whatever reason, whether it was McCarthy, whether it was something else, Aaron Jones was not on the field. He was not that bell cow. So to me, that's questionable. Whether he doesn't have the stamina or whatever. The dude did not get the Brock 25 times a game. So who knows? I also gave a point to Josh Adams on our team. I gave a point to Jake Kumro, as Josh mentioned a little bit. Touchdown Jesus. I gave a point to one Mr. McCall Thomas. Just because that dude's our only stud wide receiver, really. And then I gave a point to Zach Ertz and Hunter Henry. Zach Ertz, obviously the starter currently in Philadelphia. If Zach Ertz were to ever leave, I would still count those guys as a stud, but then Dallas Goedert would come up and be a stud as well. So I do really enjoy our tight end core. And Josh, we exchanged you texted me today about how it's not unrealistic for us to be starting 3 tight ends come next year, just because our team is garbage when it comes to depth. And we have 2 flex spots, so very possible we could start 3 tight ends. What were the notes here? We need running backs. We need wide receivers. And we like our tight ends. Wow, a great note-taking, Garlic. Moving on to the last team, a.k.a. the first loser, a.k.a. Alex Smith first round. Jared Goff. Dude balled out. I gave our team a 12. Josh gave us a 20. I don't know if I mentioned that. Anyways, Alex Smith first round. Jared Goff. Studworthy gave the point of 2. I'm guessing Jared Goff carried your team similar to how Patrick Mahomes carried our team. Leonard Fournette worth a point just because his future is questionable. The dude has shown great success. He also had a bit of a rocky year. He got suspended. He got his contract voided, or the guarantees voided. So who knows what his future holds. Joe Mixon, I'm not as high on as Josh, but dude definitely has plenty of potential. Mainly the reason I'm not perfectly high on him is because the future of that team is unknown. And so while the player might have talent, if he's being poorly utilized, like we saw happen to David Johnson this year, I don't know. Marlon Mack, the dude balled out at the end of the season. He balled out in the first round of the playoffs, but he was hurt a good chunk of the year. So I gave him only 1 point. Moving all the way down to Golden Tate, I give a point to just because I liked him in that Philly offense. He seems to be syncing up with Nick Foles. So if that can connect as well to Carson Wentz, the guy's not going to be bad for you. Travis Kelce and George Kittle. You have 2 great tight ends there. Keep both of them, obviously, but I like your tight ends a lot. You only got 9 on my list, though, so not very high. I'm guessing that 9 is last place. Or no, it's going to be second to last because of fucking 0 Gurley, 0 Cup, but I gave you a 9, so not a lot of points there. Maybe I just hate you because you beat us. I don't know.
Yeah. I gave Jared Goff a 2. I had Mixon and Kittle as 3s on my list. I like Mixon a lot. I think he's one of those guys that once they get into the once they get rid of Marvin Lewis, which they did, I'm dying over here. And they get somebody in and they learn an offense, they stick to it. I think he's going to be a stud. Marlon Mack, Travis Benjamin get 1s. I like Robert Woods a lot. He's a guy that kind of flies under a lot of people's radars because he's not the number 1 wideout, but he had 70 yards in every game last season. And I think 5+ catches. So 5 catches, 70 yards every game, and then touchdown sprinkled in. He's a great player. John Ross got a 1 just because of touchdown. He's speed. Golden Tate got a 1. That team change helped him out a lot. And then Travis Kelce and George Kittle 2 and 3. Your tight ends are very solid. You got a 20 on my scale. I gave out a lot of 20s, I realized. Another good sneaky team. I mean, you got second, so it's not like you're that sneaky. But after.
So the reason I wrote that is because it's similar to not that this will make sense to anyone in the BSB league, but it's kind of like Nikita's team. You look at it and you go, meh. But like we just said, the dude came in second in the league. Obviously didn't get the championship, but when I look at that team, I go meh at best. But the dude got second, so that's why it's a sneaky good team.
Right, and I mean Robert Woods doing what he did all year. Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Leonard Fournette is hit. Meh. Joe Mixon did good. Marlon Mack filled in when Leonard Fournette was down. That sort of thing. Alfred Blue kind of picked it up as well. So
Marlon Mack filled in when Leonard Fournette was down.
Marlon Mack came back from injury when Leonard Fournette went out and everything was really low. So yeah, not that they're on the same team, but yeah. So sneaky. I see what you mean by that. Draft picks though, you don't have a first, late second. Looks like late second, late third, early fourth, late fourth, and then a fifth. Yep,
pretty much exactly how Josh said it. So not a pick within the top 20. Your first pick's 23, so that's going to be brutal. So now we talked a lot, Josh, but we're going to keep talking. Is your dog still eating that cherry? Even after you...
Run, Kaya! All right. So, yeah, now we're going to go through what we had preseason, right? And I don't know. We have a...
Well, here, how about before we get too crazy, let's just go through and rank them based on the out season, then we'll compare. So just to give the leaderboard for how we have them ranked right now before it gets too confusing. Anyways, so in first place, I had Footbuckers, 14. You were the top of the league. Second place, I had a three-way tie with Just Bears Fan. And speaking of Just Bears Fan, breaking news, Chuck Pagano hired as the defensive coordinator for the Bears. So
I'm sorry.
The NFC North is now back up for grabs, folks. Anyways, so it's a three-way tie. I'll just use the order that Excel put you in, or it's a four-way tie, excuse me. So it goes Just Bears Fan in second, Dalton Abbey in third, Cockknocker in fourth, and Check My Balls in fifth. And then, Jesus, and in sixth, another part of the tie was TD My Pants. In seventh and eighth, with 12 points, I have Victoria's Secret and us, Hidden Oaks. In ninth, I have a Wreck Dicker with 11. In 10th, I have Alex Smith first round with 9, tied with John O's Burtons, who has 9, but he has plenty of draft potential, so I can't grade that quite yet. And then Zero Girlie, Zero Cup, of course, in fucking last, because that's exactly where they deserve to be. And then, Josh, I resorted it for you. But that's what I got. So, based on my scale, who had 14? Footbuckers will win the league next year, and I'm not going to call it now because I'd rather have my preseason one count, but you heard it here.
I have Just Bears Fan. I have a three-way tie at the top with Just Bears Fan, Dalton Abbey, and Victoria's Secret. Victoria's Secret kind of being that big shocker because they finished in 11th place last year. For tied for the next positions at 20, I have 4 teams: Footbuckers, Cockknocker, us, and Alex Smith first round. I already know we're not going to be in the top 5 next year, so yeah, it's just based on the players we have and how I feel on them. Check My Balls, you're after that with 19. Three-way tie with 18 at TD My Pants, Team Mortz or Eric Dicker, John O's Burtons, and then Zero Girlie, Zero Cup at 8. So, sorry, Zero Girlie, Zero Cup, but you're bad. Your team's bad, I should say. A lot of ties in here, but it's end of the season, just kind of going through, figuring out preseason might make a little bit more sense to take the time to separate it so it's not all clustered like that. But we can talk about how they compare to their preseason ranks if you'd like.
Yeah, this is something someone brought up, and Josh was nice enough to put together. So that no super. Oh, it looks like you have them ranked by we have them in post. I like it. Okay, so Futbuckers I have ranked first, but now or in preseason I had them in 10th, so they moved up 9 spots. If you want to think about it that way. So preseason I had them ranked. Whatever. I only gave them 6 points, and now I gave them 14 points. So they moved up 9 spots from 10th to first. Just Bears fan, I had you ranked 2nd, and now I have you ranked at 2nd. So you stayed exactly the same. Dalton Abbey, I originally had you ranked with only 5 points in 11th, and now I have you ranked in 3rd place with 13. So you moved up 8 spots. Way to improve that team, even though you didn't win a ship. Bolin Gary, the old cock knocker himself. Preseason, I had you 4th. I have you 4th again. So your team didn't excite me, but it didn't go down. Check my balls. Ranked you 1st. You won the league. But you will not repeat next year. I have you ranked 5th as of now. So sorry, boss. You went down 4 spots. TD My Pants, our fellow 12-1 team. I had you ranked 6th before. I have you ranked 6th now. So what the hell do I know, really? Not much, but I have you in the same position as I did preseason. Victoria's Secret, our newcomer, taking over Brett and Brett. I had your team 5th in the preseason and 7th now. So Josh kind of talks how you might be a sneaky good team. You'd have potential, but I don't see it quite yet. Head Noakes, we blow ahead of 7th, and now I have us 8th. So we went down 1 spot. Team Mort, aka Erek Dicker. I had you in 3rd place to start the season. I now have you in 9th place. So your team dropped off a lot in my eyes. You went down 6 spots, so we'll see. Go ahead and prove me wrong. Alex Smith, 1st round. I had you ranked dead last to start the season. You came in 2nd place this year, and I didn't learn my lesson. I have you ranked in 10th place now. So you moved up 3 spots, but I still think you're garbage. Is that math? Oh, yeah, I see the math there. And then Jonos Burtons, I had you ranked 9th to start the season, and now have you ranked 11th, so you went down 2 spots there. And then Zero Girly Zero Cup, I had you in 8th to start the season. Yikes, I'm so sorry. You're in dead last now, where you will always be forever. I hate you. Die.
Yeah, thanks, Gar. So just Bears fan, I had you at 17 preseason. That was 3rd. I have you in 1st for my postseason rankings with 22. So you've jumped 2 spots in my eyes. Dalton Abbey, I had you in 1st. I have you in 2nd, or tied for 1st, I guess. So -1. Victoria's Secret, I had you in 4th. Now I have you in 3rd. So you jumped up 1. Futbuckers, I had given you a 15 preseason for 10th. I have you at 20 now, which is good enough to jump you 6 spots to 4th. Cock Knocker, I'd given you 14, which was 11th place. I gave you 20, which is a jump of 6 spots to 5th. For Garlic and I have us at, we were at 16 preseason. We're at 20 now. Dick. And so we stay the same at 6th place. Alex Smith, 1st round, I gave you 16 preseason, which was 8th place at that time. I have you jumping up 1 spot to 7th. I know you just got 2nd, but I only envision that 1 spot jump in my rankings, at least. Check my balls. Check my balls 1, and I have you going from 9th place in my eyes to 8th, so 1 spot jump. TD My Pants, you had 18 on my scale, which was good enough for 2nd in the preseason. You have 18 again, but that's only 9th place at this point, so you dropped 7 spots. Erect Dicker, you had 17 preseason, which was 5th. You had 18, tied with a couple others, and that's 10th place, so you dropped 5. Jonos Burtons, 16 preseason, which was 7th place. 18 now in the postseason rankings, which is 11th, so you've dropped 4. And then Zero Girly Zero Cup, you're at the very bottom, as I had predicted in the beginning of the season. A lot of teams, I mean, if whoever listens to this, if you're like, oh, you ranked me 11th, or you ranked me 5th, or you ranked me somewhere that I don't deserve to be, y'all are within 4 points. That's just bench players if you think about it. So who cares?
Yeah, way to get the upset crowd, Josh. Way to put them down.
Yeah,
Fuck
stomp
those
on
guys.
you. You ever heard of a curb stomp?
Nerds. Anything else you want to talk about in the 12-team analysis there, Josh?
Well, I mean, if we wanted to go, I mean, we don't have to go into detail on it, but you already mentioned that you predicted the first place team in the beginning of the season. I predicted the last place team, so we could take that how we want. I also made notes on here. So the yellow here means that their regular season or their postseason finish is within one spot of where they actually finished. So Edgar's, I had in second. They took first in the regular season. Fourth in the post. Just Bears fan, I had you take third in the regulars, or you were predicted to take third. You ended up taking fourth in the regular season. And then Jonos Burton's, I had you taking seventh, and you ended up taking eighth. So really close, or seventh. I don't even know numbers. Oh, you took eighth in the postseason, so I was one away with my prediction in the preseason.
I can understand you not knowing what my numbers and colors mean, but not knowing your own colors, Josh.
I did it at work, Garlic. I was distracted by being a professional podcaster.
Yeah.
All right, so what's next on the agenda?
The old draft retrospective. So, Josh, I know you like to complain when we do long pods, and that's understandable.
Oh, no, I'm really excited.
See? We gotcha. Anyways, so we won't analyze every single draft pick, but I went through and I highlighted some guys. I don't know if Josh highlighted it anymore. Okay, so we'll just kind of go team by team. Then we'll go in the order that your very first draft pick in. So T to my pants at the first pick overall. Got Todd Gurley, got exactly what you expect. Todd Gurley deserved to be first overall. I put Tyreek Hill as green, which means you were kind of a steal. It's hard to say Tyreek Hill was a steal in the second round. It was pick 24, though. It was the very last pick of the second round, so Tyreek Hill carried this team a lot. You took Devonta Freeman, though, to start the third, which woof. He did not help you this year. Chris Hogan, another woof. James White, though, all the way down in round 10 was not bad for you, along with Lamar Jackson. Obviously, he's a rookie QB that wasn't going to start, but you took him in the 19th round, pick 217, and that's going to be a guy I think that can help you in the future as long as that team doesn't fuck you up, I guess.
I agree with what Garlic said there. So, cock knockers with the second overall pick, Zeke Elliott, kind of what you expected. I mean, you got some good value with Mike Evans and Amari Cooper there. Royce Freeman might be a wolf kind of pick as well, depending on how that shakes up, but he's still a rookie, so it's hard to place that. You got Deshaun Watson in the 5th round, though. Not a bad value pick, considering he's going to be a consistent starter there. He's their future. Young, so you're kind of locked up in that spot for a while. Rojo, though, in the 6th round, kind of a wolf pick. Healthy scratch for the first couple of weeks is kind of scary. Cooper Kupp is one of those kind of borderline yay picks. I think that he's shocked a lot of people. But then Tariq Cohen in the 9th round is kind of a steal because he was utilized quite a bit more than people expected in Chicago. That's kind of what we have on your team. I don't really like any of your late round picks, though.
Yeah, I mean, they were late round picks. That's why I didn't bother calling them in, but not a lot of excitement. Moving on to the Alex Smith first round. He had the 3rd overall pick. Man took Leonard Fournette, and I marked as yellow. I think that's the only thing I marked yellow. Not necessarily a wolf pick, but obviously didn't have the season you hope. The dude has talent. The dude has potential, but 3 overall might go looking back. Obviously, hindsight's always 20/20, but looking back in a year or two, that might be a pick that could doom your team for a bit. Nothing else really in your first 8 rounds, first 7 rounds. Jared Goff, though, hold on, I need to scroll back just one column. There we go. Jared Goff in the 8th. Obviously, the dude balled out this year. Marlon Mack in the 9th is probably pretty fair. Maybe not necessarily steal worthy, but I marked it green just because I think the dude has a bright future. And then George Kittle in the 11th at pick 123, I think that says.
Yep.
I think that's a very good pick, a very good value pick for. I mean, the dude's had one good season. We probably shouldn't be, sucking his dick quite yet, but dude had a great year. So hopefully plenty of I can't talk. Go on, Josh.
I mean, yeah, and then I just noticed Adam Humphries in round 21 is probably a steal as well. He had a great season, fantasy-wise, so that's something to keep an eye on. We didn't mark that, but that I agree with what Garth said there. So 0 Gurley, 0 Cup. We'll skip you because, yeah, ugly. Le'Veon Bell in the 1st. That didn't pan out. Who knows? He'll re-sign somewhere else, but he's old. He's going to be 29?
I don't know.
He's getting up there. Rob Gronkowski, you had in the 3rd. That was a wolf pick as well. He's probably going to be in the WWE ring.
Just to remind people, we were throwing a lot of wolf picks here. This was Team USA. This was auto-drafted, so it's understandable why these are wolves, but that's the team you have, so.
Yep. And then Larry Fitz is orange. I think I marked that as orange because I think, he has the potential to retire. He's got maybe 1 year. He didn't do well at all this year, so for a 4th round pick, kind of a
Yeah, it's going to be his 3rd head coach in 3 years.
Yeah, so your team is just struggle busting hard.
Yep. So the Futbuckers, you had the 5th overall pick. Alvin Kamara, stud, worth the 5th pick. Stephon Diggs, maybe just slightly steep in the 2nd, but it was pick 20, so it's kind of understandable. I'm sure most of the studs were gone at that point, so not a bad pick by any means. The dude had a 1,000-yard season. Juju Smith-Schuster in the 3rd. At the time, probably looked like a bad pick. Now it looks like a really decent pick. Dude had a good year and is only trending upwards. So I don't have any red on your team. As far as value goes, I go down to round 11th for my next mark of value. Eric Ebron at pick 125. I understand the dude was pretty questionable coming into the year, so that might be a little high based on like pre-draft analysis or preseason analysis, but Eric Ebron is going to be a staple of your team hopefully for the future. And then Baker Mayfield in the 16th. Obviously, the dude was not going to be a starter this year, but as a dynasty league, you got to be thinking about the future. So for me, the value picks are Juju Smith, Eric Ebron, and Baker Mayfield. No red in your team, but we'll see what the future holds.
Yep, and I didn't make any changes there, so I agree with what Garlic had. Moving on to Just Bears fan. Kind of got what you expected with Saquon in the 1st. Jordan Howard could have been red. I would probably put him at a yellowish just because of his season this year, but he did turn it on towards the end of the season. He had some great carries. I feel like he's more of a late season runner anyways. Marvin Jones, though, I agree with Garlic. If he marked that red, kind of a different pick. But with the Golden Tate trade halfway through the season, it's very possible that he picks it up. The rest of your team, though, looks positive. I mean, Fuller in the 7th was good. Demaryius Thomas in the 6th. Kelvin Ridley, I think, was a great pick in the 8th round. He proved to be a touchdown machine. Andrew Luck in the 11th was a steal. Then all the way down, and I know Garlic didn't mark him, but Tyler Boyd in the 21st round.
Pick 245?
246.
246?
I think that is a steal. So, I mean, he was somebody in a lot of leagues that I got off the waiver wire. I think he's a stud. I'd given him a 2 on my scale earlier. Even with AJ Green out, he did well. So I think that you got a steal with him in the 21st.
Yep. Victoria's Secret. This is one of the 1 and 12 teams. Obviously, you inherited it from the Brett, so you can't really hold it against you personally. But the draft was Alex Collins in the 4th. Definitely did not pan out. I marked that as a draft wolf. But Mike Williams in the 8th. I like that a lot, especially if the Chargers decide to deal Keenan or to deal someone. I think Mike Williams is going to get plenty of touches. I know his rookie deal is going to be coming up here, I think, next year. But other than that, I think your team was pretty average for kind of where you drafted players. Julio in the 2nd, DeAndre in the 1st, Corey Davis in the 3rd. I would probably personally call a wolf, but Josh might feel differently, so I didn't bother marking it. Other than that, I think your team was drafted very adequately, in my opinion. So no excitement or wolves either way.
Nothing in addition to me. I think there's a few that may end up being good picks, like Antonio Callaway, Mike Gesicki, and then James Washington as well. Moving on to Dalton Abbey. For this year, David Johnson, wolf pick, just some other people in front of him. But you made up for it in the 2nd round if you want to think about it with Devontae Adams. I mean, if you would have taken Devontae in the 1st and David Johnson in the 2nd, I don't think we would have colored it at all.
No, probably not.
No, and so I think that's kind of an even wash there. But then you got Rodgers in the 4th. Garlic marked red. I kind of agree with that. That's a little early for a QB that turned 30 this year. And so, QBs are valuable. But being a dynasty league, you can see that there's rookies that are making impacts. There were plenty available. Carlos Hyde, also kind of a wolf pick just because, well, he's in Jacksonville now. He wasn't... He would have been a decent pick, I think, if he would have stayed with the Browns. But since he got traded, it's kind of a... But, if... I think Garlic would agree with me. If Leonard Fournette were to leave, would you say that he would just go back to that's a decent pick?
Probably. My only question mark there would be what Doug Marone's system would be. If he goes with one guy and Carlos Hyde's the guy, then sure. But if it goes to a running back by committee situation, you got Carlos Hyde there. You have TJ Yeldon there, who's been a backup for many years. You have, I don't know. I don't think Jamal Charles is still in that team, but it depends on what their system looks like. If it's running back by committee, I keep that as a wolf. If Carlos Hyde becomes the guy, then sure.
Yep, and then other than that, that was your first 5 rounds. Other than that, I think you drafted fairly well. Michael Gallup has the opportunity, I think, to step it up. I think that he's going to benefit from Amari Cooper being around. Kenneth Dixon actually started getting carries. He's injury prone, though, and so that'll be interesting. Julian Edelman in New England, he's as Garlic marked just now. He's green just because he's a target whore. Josh Gordon no longer being on that team. Could be possible for him to have a bright future as well.
Yeah, thinking about it, I think so. Julian Edelman was drafted in the 12th round. I think he only slid because he was suspended for 4 games this year.
Yep.
So otherwise, yeah, that guy's a wide receiver, definitely wide receiver 2, if not a wide receiver 1. Moving on to Rec Dicker. So memory doesn't serve me well. I don't know if this was Josh or I that did this, but we eviscerated this team. There's not a single green pick, nothing but red. So OBJ and Keenan Allen in the first and second round, pick 9 and 16 respectively. Not terrible, but not super exciting either. In the third pick, Rashad Penny, that's woof because of injury. Fourth round, Russell Wilson, fine. Sony Michel, woof because of injury. LaShawn McCoy, woof because he's old. Chris Thompson, woof because he's
injured.
Yeah. So you went running back early and often. After the first 2 rounds, you went running back early and often, and they just, none of them panned out, which is unfortunate. That's kind of the way she goes sometimes, boys. But, and then in the 10th round, I woofed you with Darius Juice again. Injured. In the 12th round, I woofed you with Jerick McKinnon. Injured. So fucking yikes. Martavis Bryant and Des Bryant, I understand those were kind of flyer picks. Both guys didn't play ball this year, I don't believe. Martavis Bryant maybe 1 week or 2 if he made the team at all. So sorry, Rec Dicker. Obviously, this is just a draft retrospective. I don't know what your team looks like. Maybe you traded these guys before they became woofs, but all your fucking running backs got injured. Every single red there, or almost every single red there, is a fucking running back.
Yeah, and I think if you're looking at it in the short term, those are definitely wolf picks for this season. But in the long term, Sony Michel, I would have marked Green at 5th. Because he's going to be their number 1 carrier in New England. Is there ever truly a number 1 carrier in New England? Sony Michel was there, and there was 3 other guys who were behind him that were healthy. He was still the bell cow. He had over 100 yards in multiple games. He did have that injury that kept him out a couple weeks, but yeah, I agree with the red for this season. In the draft, 5th overall. Yeah. Next season, if we were to draft and he was taken in the 5th, I would say that's probably a pretty good pick. That would be a steal. So that's where I am at this. Darius Geis, Jerick McKinnon. I don't know when our draft was, but I think they were hurt beforehand. So getting him in that spot might have just been kind of I'm going to plan for the future type deal. And so that's, those are 2 that I would consider, okay, whatever, maybe not mark red, but just leave as is. But I do agree with LaShawn McCoy, Chris Thompson, Rashad Penny, Martavis Bryant, Des Bryant being red, just because while the last 2, Martavis Bryant, Des Bryant didn't play, Rashad Penny is hurt, and then there's Mike Davis, Chris Carson in front of him as well. And then, Chris Thompson struggle bus with injuries this year.
Yeah, I think the main reason I went around liberally with the red, I agree there's a lot of young talent there, but to me, a lot of these guys, when they start out their career with an injury, that could certainly set the tone and kind of ruin their career before it gets going. So that puts a very big cautionary tale for me personally. Maybe you see it differently, but that's kind of why I took out the paintbrush and just marked everything red. So I did that one, so you go ahead, Noakes.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt, orange, just because his future with the NFL is uncertain.
Not as bad as Ray Rice, but still not good.
If he played again, I'd be surprised. So I'd mark him red myself. Unfortunate, but when you're a dumbass like he is, kind of deserved. Sucks for our fantasy team, obviously, because he was in our number 1 running back for the majority of the season. Our next mark on here, Josh Gordon, the 4th, definitely red. But we did discuss it. You said it was okay.
At the time of the draft, I said it was fine. Reluctantly, I said it was fine. But I agree, I did allow it.
Yeah, and I wasn't going to take him if you didn't say yes. But, he has more mental health issues, and let this be a disclaimer. If you have mental health issues, please seek help. Your life is important. Granted, he's dealing with stuff. He's probably has skeletons in his closet that we don't even want to know about. Aaron Jones, green. Which I think is hilarious because Yahoo gave him as the worst pick in the draft. And
well, his coming into the season, his future was extremely uncertain at best. So
right, Duke Johnson didn't do much until Hugh left, so it'll be interesting to see what happens to him. But he's red. He was a wolf this year. Keelan Cole, I don't even know if he touched the field this year. He had 1 good week.
So Josh, I think we've established that I should just not let you draft who you want. Josh,
you should
Gordon,
just not let me
Keelan
read Reddit
Cole.
hype.
All right. I can't stop you from reading Reddit hype, so I just have to control your mind.
Okay. Ask me where I hear about these players, and if I say Reddit, say no. Patrick Mahomes, though, we both agree is a steal. 9th round, kind of early for quarterbacks if you think about it, but he's young, and he was a freaking stud this year. According to the sleeper scoring system, when I looked at the rankings, he was the number 1 scoring quarterback by 90 points.
That's definitely possible. Highest flying. I mean, the Rams were good, but I mean, the Chiefs were probably the highest flying offense in the league. I forget. I think we just wanted a young quarterback. I think I personally was starting to panic. I was like, let's just take someone.
Yeah, no, because we were talking Carson Wentz, and he went, I think, a round before Mahomes, and we took Mahomes. You weren't necessarily high on him.
No, I wasn't.
I wasn't that high. I said he had a good outing in his last regular season game, but I did not think he would do anything near what he did this season. So I'm pleasantly surprised. Yeah. Our next mark on here was Hunter Henry. We got him in the 11th, and both of us knew he wouldn't play at all during the regular season. So while it is kind of a woof pick for this season, we know he has a talent. He's young. He's got Phillip Rivers there for at least another year or two, hopefully. And then the rest of our team is just kind of
average or gone.
Yeah, no, let's just not talk about them. You can go on to check my balls.
All right, check my balls. Decently green here. You had the 11th overall pick, so I think it's still just fucking with this ball. But Antonio Brown in the first at 11th, honestly, I was surprised to see Antonio slide to 11th. Obviously, we didn't take him either, but not a bad pick. He's probably just getting a little older. That's why he slid to 11. CMC, though, at 14. Obviously, that probably looked fair at draft time, but now, holy shit. I think we wanted Christian McCaffrey at 15 if he would have came there. Of course, he didn't, but Christian McCaffrey was probably the stud of your team. Adam Thielen in the third. Hard to say Adam Thielen in the third was a steal, but especially in a PPR format, and you look at the regular season was only weeks 1 through 13. Adam Thielen had 100-yard games week 1 through 8, so that definitely carried you to plenty of wins, I'm guessing. So that's why I marked him as green, a steal in the third. I woofed you with Jay Ajayi just because I think he played a couple games this year and then got hurt, but he wasn't exceptionally great in the games he did play, so I marked as a woof. Go all the way down to, speak of the fucking devil, round 14, James Conner. Ooh. So I'd argue between Patrick Mahomes and James Conner, it's hard to say who the steal of the draft was. Definitely the top 2 steals of the draft, but obviously check my balls once, so we could probably give him the edge. Just
I think, I'm going to say definitely check my balls, just because running backs, you need more running backs in order to have a successful team. So James Conner in the 14th with Christian McCaffrey. Yeah.
So as long as James Conner can stay as good as he was, that's going to be the steal for years to come. John Burton's the last one. You got Josh, 12th overall.
Dalvin Cook marked as a red. First pick in the second round. Didn't do much this season. Then again, it's dynasty, so who knows? He could turn it around. He's got the talent. Nick Chubb, I think, marked green here, just because in the 6th round he's going to be their future. Granted, like I said earlier, if Carlos Hyde would have stuck around, I probably wouldn't have marked him at all. I probably would have marked him a red, because who knows what his touches would be like. Kenny Golladay, great pick in the 11th round, and then go all the way down to round 20. Traquan Smith, I think that he has a bright future in New Orleans as kind of that slot receiver there.
I agree with you. Again, I know this is one you marked for sure, but again, I think if the Saints were to win it this year, if Breeze, in my opinion, if Breeze was smart, he'd retire and go off into the sunset. I know guys are playing older and older as the years go on, but I mean, Drew Brees, you're on the top. You're looking like you're on top of the game. You're on a stud of a team. Take your second Super Bowl and just retire. I mean, don't go longer than you have to. It can get ugly. Josh is getting up, so I don't know exactly what he's doing. Oh, is she? Oh, I can't see her. God, yeah, dick. So yeah, that was pretty much our draft, not really draft grades, but draft retrospective. Moving on next, we're talking the best stuffs. I have the greatest segment names of all time, and I named the segment Best Stuffs. This was a recommendation from Mr. Jono himself. So hold on, I have to just write down the segment start time real quick. All right, so best stuffs. So we went through I copied and pasted all the transactions from Yahoo this year. Jonas had mentioned kind of looking for the best value waiver claim or free agent pickup. There honestly was not a lot. And I was looking for maybe impact players, and there wasn't much. I don't think any of I went through and kind of just highlighted the yellow ones that were interesting, and I don't think any of them were on winning teams or obviously none of them were on Check My Balls, but going all the way back to September 12th, Cockknockers picks up Philip Lindsay, so that's obviously a good pickup for him. The guy came in out of nowhere, and Cockknockers kind of pounced on that while they could. Going all the way up to October 24th, Futbuckers picked up Elijah McGuire. I think that was another big name pickup. I mean, there's a lot of transactions in here. I mean, including trades, there was 177 different transactions throughout the year. So I mean, that's pretty good for the roster sizes as big as we have them. But just a lot of them are just no-name guys. We'll talk about the trades next. And we'll talk about the trades next, and those definitely had way more impact than the free agent stuff.
So I listened to while I was playing with my dog. I listened to what you were saying about the pickups, and I agree that there's not many. I do think that like Tim Patrick, Deshaun Hamilton in Denver, both of those wideouts have the potential to be decent pickups off the waiver wire, considering our depth and the lack of talent on the waivers. Just because with the trade of Demaryius Thomas and the injury to what's his name? I'm drawing a blank.
What team?
Denver.
Cortland, what are you saying?
Injury. Achilles.
Emmanuel Sanders?
Yes. Emmanuel Sanders injury. It opened the door for more targets. Deshaun Hamilton stole a lot of targets. Tim Patrick got quite a few as well as a deep threat. And so those two players, I think, could be decent pickups throughout the year. But Philip Lindsay, I think, is kind of that pickup of the year for sure.
Yep. The only other notable ones that I had was Gus Edwards.
Yep.
That wasn't until November 21st. Damian Williams by Bears fan. That one could be huge. That was on December 5th. So, again, there's a lot of transactions, but none of them really passed a sniff test or an eye test or whatever you want to say. Moving on to trades. Josh, I don't know if you took a deep dive into these or not.
I didn't take a deep dive on any of them. I know he just kind of wanted the best trades, is what I understood. And honestly, I think we made the comment halfway through the year that all of the trades that went through seemed to be extremely even.
Yeah, let's just say in my trade experience, there's a lot of trade rape going on. All right, a lot of people either offering garbage or they're taking advantage of someone stupid. But looking back on some of these trades, I mean, there was only 11 of them. It won't take us too long to talk about them. But so, very first trade of the year, at least the first one according to Yahoo, was Dalton Abbey traded away Cortland Sutton, Spencer Ware, Benjamin Watson, and the first round pick to to Zero Gurley, Zero Cup for Le'Veon Bell, Greg Olsen, and a 23rd round pick. I don't know why that's in there, but
I think it's because they needed to have a pick for a pick, and so
gotcha.
It's a late one. Yeah,
that makes sense. But so yeah, I get that first round pick there is huge for I think Zero Gurley, Zero Cup. We'll see what the future holds, and he was able to offload Le'Veon Bell and Greg Olsen to Dalton Abbey. So yikes. Trade number 2, or John, I don't know if you want to go every other here, Josh, but
yeah, no, I mean. Trade number 2 we had was Christian McCaffrey, D.D. Westbrook for Kenny Stills and a first-round draft pick. I would have loved to be on the Christian McCaffrey, D.D. Westbrook. I went because I had gone through earlier today at work and highlighted the ones that I would have rather be on the side of winning, and apparently it didn't save.
Woof.
So, I would like to have Christian McCaffrey and D.D. Westbrook as opposed to Kenny Stills in round 1.
Although interesting enough, our champion, Check My Balls, had CMC, so... And then he traded him away. That still won the league, if you see what I'm saying.
Oh, well, the way I'm reading it says Chris McCaffrey was traded to Victoria. Oh, yeah, I guess.
The way you're reading it is correct. Unless I have it backwards, I'm just reading it as it's written. So it looks like Christian McCaffrey was traded away to Victoria's Secret, but maybe it is backwards. I don't know. But anyways, next trade number 3, this one happened September 22nd. It was basically Nick Chubb and a 5th rounder for Ryan Grant and a 3rd rounder. I personally have no fucking clue who Ryan Grant is, but that was a trade between Dalton Abbey and Jonas Burtons. So this is kind of Jono offloading his later round picks for earlier picks while also offloading Chubb as we're reading that. Again, I don't know if we have that backwards or not, but we
have it right. I would have rather been on the Nick Chubb side of this one.
Okay, yeah, not a high impact trade, but definitely some value.
Yep. Next one, Kyle Rudolph, Alshon Jeffrey in round 3, traded to Jonas Burtons for Jarvis Landry in round 1, traded to Check My Bowels. That one I think is fairly even. I guess I can't decide. I guess if I'm thinking draft capital, I would have rather had Jarvis Landry and then the round 1 draft pick.
Yep. So moving up to the 5th trade, it was Tywan Taylor for Sam Darnold and Will Dissly. So Check My Balls got Tywan Taylor, and then Sam Darnold and Will Dissly moved on to Victoria's Secret. So
pass.
Yeah.
Matt Breida and a round 1 draft pick was traded to Jonas Burtons for Sammy Watkins, theoretic in a round 4. That one I'd rather have the probably the Sammy Watkins side of things, to be honest. We're hoping that he has a great pickup in KC with
He hasn't yet, though.
Patrick Mahomes. He had a decent couple weeks, but that offense is just so high powered. I mean, it's fairly. I mean, like we said, it's a fair trade all around. So who knows if that round 1 draft pick turns into a player like Elvin Kamara or Saquon Barkley? Yeah, I would much rather have that side of the deal.
Yeah, but as far as we know, we can't predict the future. So, trade 7, that's was on October 9th. So it looks like it's Mohamed Sanu for Bilal Powell and a second. That was between Check My Balls and Futbuckers. Check My Balls getting the second round and Bilal Powell. Again, that's just how I'm reading that. I'm not sure if the draft picks seem off to me. But anyways, so I mean, Bilal Powell was okay for a couple weeks, but now with Elijah McGuire and Isaiah Crowell there, kind of a woof there. I think I'd rather be on the side with I don't really like this trade period, but
yeah. Next one, Kiki Kuti and a round 2, which was previously traded from Buttfuckers.
Josh,
I swore. Mom!
Cole Walters
Was traded to Janos Burtons for Dalvin Cook, who was traded to Check My Balls. That one, I think that's a fair trade. I mean, if you think about it, Dalvin Cook was taken in the second round anyways. Early second, first pick in the second round. Kiki Kuti was a very late draft pick, round 2. So very even across the board, I think.
Ooh, my bag just fell. All right, trade 9. November 4th, we have Carlos Hyde and a round 4 pick going to Zero Girly Zero Cup. And for that, they gave up Cortland Sutton and a round 19 pick. So again, I think that's just the draft, the pick for pick thing you're talking about. But I think I'd rather be on the Cortland Sutton side just for potential with Dalton Abbey.
Yep, I agree.
But yeah, just because Carlos Hyde's so questionable. But
the next one, Julio Jones for 2 first-round picks. So Julio Jones was traded to Check My Balls for round 1, traded from Victoria's Secret, which is the second overall pick this year, and round 1 traded from Janos Burtons, which is, I believe, the 5th or 6th overall pick, traded to Victoria's Secret.
Yeah. For me, I don't know.
Hang on.
Okay.
Victoria's Secret traded their first-round draft pick earlier in the year to Check My Balls, and then they traded back for their first-round draft pick from Check My Balls for Julio Jones, or they traded Julio Jones back for their first-round draft pick and then another one.
Sure. I don't know. I'm confused by all this, to be honest.
But we'll just speak.
Yeah, we'll pretend like we know what's going on. Trade 11, the last one of the year, on November 9th. This is kind of a bigger trade. We have Alshon Jeffrey, Kenny Galladay, and a 6th-round pick going to TD My Pants. And TD My Pants traded to Janos Burtons, Devontae Freeman, and a first-rounder. So, again, Jonas is trying to pick up draft picks there. Some big names there, Kenny Galladay and Alshon Jeffrey. So TD My Pants is trying to lock down the receiver core while kind of, in my mind, offloading Devonta Freeman just because the guy gets hurt too much. But they also had to give up a first-round pick for that wide receiver talent. So time will tell who won that trade. For me right now, though, I think I'd rather be on the TD My Pants side.
Yeah, I would rather be on the other side. So like you said, though, it's fairly even. Time will tell, though.
For me, I mean, I don't know, looking at the best trade of the year, but for me, I guess I'll just give the edge to Victoria's Secret because they got 2 first-round picks in one trade. So to me, that'll be the best trade of the year.
Yeah, depending on what he does with them.
Well, I mean, correct, but to build your potential, that team was 1-12. To be able to make a trade in November and get yourself 2 more first-round picks, or get yours back and then get another one, I think is pretty smart. So that'll be my trade of the year. Anything else for best stuff, Josh? I don't know. There's only so much.
I think best podcast. I think we can take that one.
Oh, you think so?
I think safely we can say that we have the best podcast for the league.
Best. Oh, how about this? Best team name.
Best team name
in our league. Yeah. Out of the teams in our league, who was the best team name?
Zero Girly Zero. No.
Absolutely not. You fucking sham.
No. I mean, I like the interactive team name of Just Bears Fan. Started off as Happy Bears Fan, then Sad Bears Fan, and then you went to Just Bears Fan. So, I like that one. Yep, my dog loves 2x4s, even though that is not a 2x4, that is a 2x3.
Come on, Josh, pretend you know things.
And so, one side of it is a 2x3, the other side's a 2x2. Thanks, Kaya. And so, best team name, our team's really, a lot of them were sexual innuendos. I didn't really like many of them. None of them were as creative as Thomas and Friends or Josh Gordon died for this.
Yeah, I agree with your point on the interactivity or the volatility of Just Bears fan. I appreciated that. I do appreciate some of to me, I just didn't see Cockknocker coming. I'll give Cockknocker best team name in my opinion, just because I don't know.
Yeah,
it
no,
made
that's
me
a
giggle
shocker.
the most.
Yeah, no, if you opened an envelope and you pulled Cockknocker out, you'd probably laugh. So
Right.
yeah, I get it.
A lot of sexual innuendos though, so that it was a crowded place.
Yeah. Next segment.
Yeah. What we got next is this was a half-ass segment, just something I threw in. If we had time to kind of think about it, it was draft speculation or other off-season stuff.
I'm not going to think ahead to the draft. I'm sorry.
You got nothing.
We can do a preseason, postseason draft one.
All right. So then we'll just pretend that segment doesn't exist. But this is kind of along the same lines. It says predictions for offseason next year. Just kind of based on everything we've talked about. Hold on, I'll write down the segment time. So kind of based on everything we've talked about today, obviously you rank the offseason teams. Who do you really think, though, based on draft picks, truthiness, whatever you want to say, who do you think is going to have a really bright 2019 in this league? Victoria's
Secret.
Think so?
Yeah, and so I mentioned that they finished 11th, and I had them in tied for first or second in my picks. But I think that they did quite a bit in the offseason to get that. But then with how things have gone throughout the year, players, you never really. It's really tough. Ben and I have predicted this or talked about this a couple times that even after the draft in a redraft league, you don't know what's going to happen in the next 3 weeks.
Ew.
So things can change on the flip of a coin type thing. So I mean, I think we'll have a new champion next year. I don't think we'll ever repeat. But I would not be shocked if our team didn't make the playoffs. I've already mentioned that. I would be shocked. I would not be shocked if where is it? Victoria's Secret did make the playoffs. I would be shocked if Zero Girlie Zero Cup made the playoffs. I would be shocked if they won a game. And so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Going off Josh, I agree. I agree with who was it you just said you're excited for? I'm sorry. It's been a while.
Victoria's Secret.
There you go. I'm excited for them. Plenty of good draft picks. I'm also excited to see what Jonas Burtons can do just with all the draft capital he has.
Very active in the chat as well.
Right. If you utilize that well, then you've got a great chance to have a good next year. If you don't utilize that well, your season could be quite rough. So I'm excited to see that. As far as who I think will perform the best next year, based on right now, I'll just keep with my off-season settings or my off-season rankings. I had Futbuckers as my top ranked team based on my truthiness scale. So I'll just say I think you could be the champ next year, but we'll do this again in the preseason, and that could be a different answer. So that's all I got. What else did I write down here? Playoffs team, hot interleague takes. Trades go. I think it kind of depends on how our draft is set up, but I know I personally would like to see plenty of draft day trading. So whether that's players for players, picks for picks, whatever. I know personally we don't really have a lot to give out, but I would love the potential for us to be able to trade up and get a higher pick than I think our top pick's 10. It's kind of hard to predict those things, but I see a lot of people have put their players on the trade block, so hopefully there's plenty of off-season action, and then I hope we have an exciting draft, but it'll just kind of depend on, I know we're all in a lot of time zones, so there could be some lulls, but I can't really predict which players will go where, but a lot of you guys put people on the trade blocks, and you seem to have decently even trades, so I'm excited.
Josh Gordon's on the trade block.
Oh, who do you think's going to take him?
I think we're going to get plenty of first-round draft pick offers.
Oh, yeah, probably never. Josh, is there anything else you want to talk about at all?
Not really.
How about this? Is there anything you'd like to see in the offseason or in the draft? Just anything you'd like to see between now and our preseason pod? Anything you would hope for?
I mean, yes, but at the same time, it's already happening because we've had more conversation in the Slack chat. Or not the Slack chat. Well, yeah, the Slack chat. But then we've had more conversation in the sleeper chat for the BSB League, despite it only being a couple weeks old, compared to our entire season of the Hidden Oaks Dynasty League. And that's something that I'd like to see continue. Just stuff that happens. Obviously, we're going to hit a lull at some point, but a bunch of shit talking, bunch of, trade offers, things like that. Just activity is what I want to see. That's really all I can ask for. My dogs are chewing on something upstairs, and I'm really afraid to go up and look to see if it's the carpet. So I'm going to say this is my outro. Thank you, Eriks, Janos, Mika, and everybody else in the league that I don't remember your name. Pretend I'm talking upside down for you in Australia. If you're in Chicago, pretend I have a gun in my pocket, and have a great off season. Can't wait to play next year. Can't wait to lose to you.
Yeah. I'll just echo what Josh said. Thank you for letting us be in your league. I know Josh just found it on Reddit, but I definitely can admit I had a good time. Slightly frustrated with kind of how Sleeper has their co-owner permission set up. I can't even fucking rename the team or add or put players on IR. So hopefully I can work that out with Sleeper before next year. If you listen to this point, congratulations. This is our longest pod all year by a long shot. We're at 145 right now. So fucking yikes. But I agree with Josh. Obviously, there's going to be plenty of off-season lull, but it seems like we have at least a good group of core guys. If not all 12 of us are great, at least 4 to 6 or 7 of us are great. We're pretty active in the chat, so I'd like to see that just throughout the year. But then obviously bringing it up hot again, or coming in hot again next season. And I know the league's only $10, so a lot of people would say that's not very exciting, but if we're having fun, it doesn't really matter. You can't put a price tag on that. So thank you everyone for listening. One last special shout out to Eriks. You were a loyal listener to our podcast for no good reason. We talked for an hour. We talked for 60 to 75 minutes every week. We talked about our league for maybe 5 minutes a week, and you still listen to everything every week. Or at least I think you did. I don't know if you skipped around. You definitely could have, which is your right. But one last special shout out to you. If you care about the podcast, we've got our Facebook page and we've got our email, facebook.com/hoodpod, or hiddenokesoverdose@gmail.com. But of course, most of us will just be talking in the sleeper chat, and that's good enough for us. So thank you, everybody. We'll probably come out with another podcast right around free agency. It probably won't be BSB specific, but plenty to talk about with our Dynasty League and kind of where players are going, and if we want to, pick up some guys or trade some guys ourselves. So we'll see how it goes, but I've already talked way too fucking long, and I should probably stop now. So here's the outro song. Oh.
You